Hello, everyone. Welcome. I just want to apologize for not being able to make class. So I thought what I could do is provide this discussion of the path goal theory, which we were going to cover in class. And then what I will do for you is put together an assignment that you can do and turn in. And also, I plan to have a quiz on this, so carefully read everything. What this does, if you remember, we discussed the behavioral theory and situational theories. This takes all the previous work from the past couple weeks on behavioral theory and situational theories in terms of leadership behavior, and you've taken the situation. This one adds the element of motivation of the person, of you, and leadership style. And if you remember, I had asked you to bring to class your career leaders, your main motivators. So this is what this theory would say is that for you to perform at your best, and for you to be committed, in other words, have the right attitude, for you to have the ability to do the job and have the right attitude to get it done, there are certain leadership styles. So that's really the dimension that's being talked about here in this week. So it centers on how leaders motivate followers to accomplish designated tasks, goals, whatever. It emphasizes the relationship between the leader style, the characteristics of the followers, and the work setting. Basically, it looks at that relationship between how your style of behavior, what followers are like in their motivation, and then the work setting. It's basically, again, to enhance your performance and your satisfaction. Satisfaction, when we use words like satisfaction, we're talking about your commitment. The motivation is based on expectancy theory. And in a couple slides, I'm going to talk about motivation. They are not, what I'm going to talk about, motivation is not included in your text, but I think it's important to understanding all this. So basically, let me talk a little bit about this notion of motivation. So basically, you would pick a leadership style that would enhance what is missing in the work setting. You're going to enhance goal attainment and also look to things that will help motivate you. So you increase motivation of other people, or I would increase your motivation if you believe that you're getting something out of it, that a lot of your needs are being satisfied. So if you look at your list of motivators from Career Leader, basically, if I, as a leader, developed a style that enable you to attain, let's take your top 5 or 6 motivators. If you were getting payoffs from the work, and if I was really clear on what the goals were, and all of this would lead to your better performance and also your commitment or attitude on the job. So the basic idea behind path goal theory is that me as a leader, if I help define goals, clarify the path for you to be productive, if I remove obstacles, and if I have a goal that's motivational to you, if I provide support, then you're going to perform. So here are the different behaviors that I can do. I can be directive, I can be supportive, I can be participative or achievement oriented. These are a lot like what we discussed with the Hershey-Blanchard. Remember the leadership styles from the Hershey-Blanchard? But this takes into account who you are as a subordinate or a person that I'm trying to lead. What is it that you have to do? And if all of these match up, and I can focus appropriately, I'm going to enhance your motivation, which will lead to productivity. So let me step back a minute and look at motivation. Okay, remember I said that as a leader, I'm trying to stimulate your performance. So if I ask you to do something, how much effort are you going to put into it? In other words, your effort is how intense will you be? That means how much will you be really into it? How persistent will you be? Will you keep trying, keep trying, keep trying? And direction means, would you do what I want? So the level of your effort is really going to be based a great deal on, can you believe in yourself? Do you believe you can do it? And, do you really believe that you have the ability to complete what I'm asking you to do? So when I talked about an ability issue, here's where it comes in. Then you ask yourself the question, if I put in the effort, will I be able to perform? So that's what this arrow is here, going from here to here. If I put this effort in, will I perform? And then, if I perform, will I get something out of it? This is true for what you will get out of it. These are all the things that you potentially could get, either intrinsically or extrinsically. Like, for my motivators, I like variety on the job, I like intellectual challenge, I like affiliation. So I'm motivated by lifestyle, I'm motivated by autonomy. So how many of those things will I achieve? And will they be satisfactory to me? That's what we mean by outcomes. Then as we move down, another way of thinking about motivation is there fairness. So you ask yourself in terms of your performance, am I being treated fairly compared to other people? So if I look at other people, their outcomes, and I look at my outcomes and what I input, are we being fairly treated? Is there equilibrium? So fairness is a big issue that supervisors need to think about. Now, the path goal theory does not talk about this. So this is a theory of motivation that really is not addressed by the path goal theory. But here are some of the outputs that you could get in the path goal theory, and some of the inputs. Take a quick look at those. But again, the model of path goal is, are you going to achieve certain outcomes, which are here, from putting out the effort? And path goal leadership says, I have to behave in a certain way as a leader to help you get these outcomes. So another thing related to path goal is goal setting. So it's important to think about goal setting. Are the goals specific, and are they difficult? Are they do you have the ability to do them? Do you have a input in setting the goals? And so if you do, it's going to lead to task performance. It's going to lead to your intensity, persistence, and you're going to think about ways to get the job done. So there's the goal setting element. In the path goal theory, this is the characteristics of the task being done. So here are some of the leadership behaviors that are talked about in the path goal theory. But let me just back up a minute and outline where we're at. One, we're saying the leadership behavior or your leadership style has to take into account the motivation of the followers. And the motivation of your followers is what leads to their performance and their commitment, which leads and if you hit the right buttons with motivation, they're going to perform the goals. So again, you have the directive leader who really directs the work of people, tells them what's expected of them, how the job's to be done, gives timelines, etc. So if you think about the leader on the path goal, the leader's primarily going to set the goals and tell you how to get there. Now, are you going to get certain outcomes that you find meaningful to you? And are you the type of employee that likes to be led like this? So that's one. Another leadership behavior is supportive leadership. And that's the person who's friendly and approachable. Again, we've seen very many variations of this supportive leader and directive leader. You attend to the well-being of followers. You use supportive behavior to make the work environment pleasant. You treat followers almost as equal. You invite them to participate with you. A leader who invites participative is the leader who invites followers to share in the decision making. You consult with people, you get their ideas, you integrate their input. Remember when I was talking about goal theory? If you set goals or tasks for people to get done and they participate, then likely are they might be more motivated. Next is a type of leader behavior that's achievement oriented. This is the leader who challenges followers to perform work at the highest level possible. This type of leader has real high standards, seeks continually increasing the bar on performance. There's a very, very high degree of confidence in the follower's ability to deal with challenging goals. So going back again, let me pull back to the model of motivation that we've been talking about. Here. So you have the leader is looking at people, and the leader's saying, do I need to take a directive approach, or a supportive approach, or a participative approach, or an achievement-oriented approach? So if you have employees that don't have a lot of confidence in themselves, who might be reluctant to put out the effort because they don't think they can do it, you might be taking more a directive, supportive approach here, etc. So that's where this works out. And then getting at goal setting, if you have real high achievement oriented people, you want them to perform at a higher level, you may need to let them participate, almost have them set their own goals. So again, I just want to keep reiterating, we're looking at the interrelationship between the leader behavior and if it motivates. And going down here then, the authors of the text talk about different follower characteristics. So if you have a strong need for affiliation, okay, so go back to your list of motivators. You notice affiliation, maybe lifestyle, recognition. Some of these are high. You might need a supportive type of leadership is what might work. If you have a type of person who is a follower, have a dogmatic or authoritarian characteristic as a follower, you want a leader who's going to provide the structure, clarity, sense of certainty. A lot of times new recruits in the military know they're walking into a very authoritarian dogmatic structure, and so they're going to want directive leadership. So remember we talked about locus of control? If you have a real high internal locus of control, you're going to want a leader that allows you to feel in charge and a big part of decision making. So participative leadership might come into play here. Or let's say you have an external locus of control. Remember going on that? You think that things are out of control from the outside. So you might want a leader who's more directive. So these are some of the characteristics. Here's another, your perception of your ability. As the perception of ability and competence goes up, the need for highly directive leadership goes down. So the more competent you feel, the less you need a directive leader. That kind of a leader might seem to be micromanaging. All right, let's talk about the task a little bit. The goals you're supposed to achieve. So you have to look at the organization you work in, and then the work group of your followers. So if you have a task that's very unclear and very ambiguous, leader probably needs to help provide structure to that. Or if you have a highly repetitive job, let's say you're working in a call center and you're constantly taking customer complaints, you may need to be a leader that's constantly working on providing people support in that environment because of the nature of their job. If you have a weak work group, the leader may need to work on people skills. So these are some of the things related to the task. Other thing, are there obstacles that you have as an employee in getting the work done? If you take obstacles out of the way, then you're going to increase both the competence as well as the commitment of employees. So kind of bringing all of this up and thinking about the path goal and I can put on this the type of leader. So if you think of your motivation, it's going to lead to performance. So these are the two really big, if you look on this line in the middle, these are the really big issues. If you put the effort out, will you perform? And will I get outcomes that are valuable to me? If I get outcomes that are valuable to me and I'm really happy, I'm going to have a commitment, which is going to lead me to perform even more. If I'm not happy, it's going to affect my performance in a negative way. So here are goals that have to do with the task. Here are abilities here that have to do with the characteristics of the person. These have to do with the characteristics of the person and environment. So this is how motivation then relates to this path goal. It may be complicated, but I think there's a way of simplifying, and I hope I've been able to do that for you. So basically, the leader's job is to help followers reach their goals by following one of four behaviors. And a leader has to look at the task that has to be done and has to look at the characteristics of the follower. In other words, the leader should try and understand your motivation. So the theory suggests which style is most appropriate. So it's complex but pragmatic. So basically, this chart's pretty interesting. It shows you which approach may work best. And you can go down through and look at that. Take a minute. So then the remainder of these slides talks about some of the strengths and criticisms of the model and application of the model. So that's it. I'm going to also give you an assignment that will help you to do this, a short assignment. Again, I apologize for missing class. Please email or call if you have questions. Thank you.